Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to this session of Connecting the Midlands, the Transport Vision. My name is Jeff Counsell. I'm delighted to be chairing this session, Managing Director of Trent, Barton. With us today, we've got Machancoses from Midlands Connect, CEO, Dave Penney from Network Rail, and we have Clare James, Managing Director of East Midlands Airport. Welcome all. A really, truly great panel. So, infrastructure, transport infrastructure. Historically, the Midlands hasn't been greatly supported in terms of investment in transport infrastructure, but infrastructure is key to the economic success of any region. So this session aims to discuss the plans that are already in place and to consider the priorities and the issues that still need addressing. So I'm going to kick straight in. Clare, if I may, welcome. Given the ongoing success of the East Midlands Gateway and the industrial cluster around the airport, what are the main challenges currently and you see going forward in terms of infrastructure, accessibility and connectivity?
Thanks, Jeff, and good afternoon, everyone. I think, our success is founded on the fact that back in 1965, I think it was, somebody had the foresight to locate East Midlands Airport, knowing that the M1 corridor was coming along pretty quickly. So really, it's capitalising and really investing in that existing infrastructure to make sure that the network's fit for purpose going forward. Clearly, we've got a big logistics operation here, 90% of which is by road. So it's about looking to the future. It's about addressing the sustainability piece and making sure that we've got the appropriate infrastructure to address those key issues around sustainability and climate change, and that we've got the appropriate electrification networks, charging networks, or whatever to support. The other side, and clearly you'd expect me to talk about the airport and my passenger operation, 90 to 95% of my passengers arrive by car. So we are not best served in the region, and I know other colleagues on this panel will speak about east-west connectivity, but for people to have choices about how to get to the airport. So again, if it is by car, that's great, but we need to look to the future, the phasing out of diesel and petrol cars, and how we have that network and the infrastructure to support the electrification programme, but also to give people choice around getting to the airport by train, but by train that's not going to take them an hour and a half for what is a relatively short journey with multiple changes or connections, and a service that serves the times that our aircraft depart. A lot of our first flights are early in the morning, and currently you can't get here by train that early to get that first wave departures. So in sum, it's around looking to the future, and I think having a joined up strategy that makes the most of our regional assets that we have. And we've got some great assets as a region, the airport being just one of them, and looking at how we can serve not only our passengers, but the employment base that is around there with better connectivity that's future proofed.
I was going to touch on the employment side because obviously your site and the airport and surroundings employ thousands of people, and clearly accessibility for the local population to get to and from work at different times, different shift times, must be a major challenge, particularly as we started to go into recovery for passengers as well.
Yeah, I mean, currently, as you would expect, with the passenger numbers as low as they are, we're not seeing that. I think, as we build back, our infrastructure currently can cope, but we need to look to the future. And I think, collectively as a region, and I'm not just talking about the East Midlands, I'm talking about the Midlands as a region, we should be thinking around, what is our strategy? What is the problem we're trying to solve? And then how do we get that connectivity that addresses those issues? And really, we are in the heart of the country. I've said on other sessions, the Midlands is the beating heart of the UK, and we need to make sure that that heart has got the appropriate arteries to support it, and the transport infrastructure is that critical arteries.
Absolutely, thanks for that. Let's so talking about rail, we've also got two rail experts here on the panel, which is superb. Let's bring Maria in first, if we may, from Midlands Connect. Maria, I wonder if you can bring us up to speed with what's happening with business case for Midlands Engine Rail Hub, and maybe the A500, A50 improvement plans.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. And as Claire, welcome to everybody. We're delighted to be here with all of you this afternoon, and on a topic actually that is becoming major sort of challenge for us all in the transport industry. You know, COVID is turned the whole thing around. You know, the debate about whether you need more trains, is it more about reliability, is it more about frequency, is it about capacity, new connectivity? And Claire's got it spot on. We need to think about the future, we need to think about the user and the environment, and so this is a great opportunity to rethink a lot of the stuff that we've been working on for, frankly, 15-20 years. Now, from a Midlands Connect perspective, the Midlands remains extremely united. We still acknowledge, as Claire highlighted, the importance of infrastructure to undertake a strategic movement, so to link to our airports, to link to our ports, and to bring the Midlands closer together. That's when Midlands Engine Rail really came into fruition. So east-west connectivity, and also integration with HS2, which is, by the way, already being built as we speak here in the Midlands too, creating a huge amount of jobs and a lot of thinking around what you do with the railway. So in terms of where we are, Jeff, you know, this was a phenomenal 7-project program, Midlands Engine Rail. Government have already invested in accelerating Midlands Rail Hub, which is perhaps our flagship project. But tomorrow, hopefully you'll hear, we are presenting further more mature business cases for the Coventry Leicester Nottingham project within the Midlands Engine Rail. Now, this is really about creating more space for freight, for more freight for railways. This particular Coventry Leicester Nottingham, you know, before COVID, only 1 trip out of 10 was made by railways between Coventry and Leicester. This is pre-COVID, right? It was just not suitable. It didn't have that customer, that passenger at heart, Claire, in terms of agile. You know, you could change a train, you couldn't have a direct service. The timings were very irregular, very frequent. So this is all about putting the user at heart of all that we do. So in answer to your question, Jeff, we are very busy trying to progress with these schemes that are extremely important for the Midlands, for both passenger and freight. And we want them delivered in the next 10, 15 years. And at the same time, we are making sure that COVID has not had a knock effect on business cases. So we're working very closely with Network Rail and with government to make sure that there is an articulation of what the real benefits are for the Midlands economy, as well as for the UK overall. Because again, Claire mentioned it, everything that happens here in the Midlands has an impact on the rest of the national network. So very important times, but I have to say, we need to keep that pace, and we need to ensure that government keeps investing in that type of infrastructure that the Midlands has decided is important to us. And we are awaiting, obviously, the integrated rail plan, which is hugely important for all of us, because it will be setting up the vision from government for the next phase of HS2, and particularly the eastern leg, which is extremely important for the East Midlands, but actually for the whole Midlands, for the Midlands as a whole. So very important times. But let me reassure your audience, we're working extremely hard and very united here in the Midlands to maximise all these investment that no doubt will come.
Excellent, thanks, Maria. I'm going to circle back to the collaboration aspects and the funding issues a little bit later if we have time, but just want to bring David at this point. So Dave is Central Route Director for Network Rail. Welcome, Dave. Dave, Maria's just obviously given us a broad brush coverage of what's happening rail-wise, but in terms of what maybe the Great British Railways might mean for us, what might it mean for passengers? What might it mean for Clare at the airport in terms of connecting people by rail, East, West, Midlands, and across the nation?
Thank you, Jeff, and welcome to everybody. Yeah, GB Rail as an announcement last week is a fantastic opportunity for the industry, but actually we've got to get it right, because pre-COVID, there was about 1.7 billion passengers a year travelling on the railway, but the trend had been static for 5 years. So that should be saying something really about whether rail was offering the product that customers wanted, and obviously taking people to the right locations. So the Williams Review does offer that opportunity, but we have to reassure people, of course, we're going to take the best of the way the industry approaches its focus on customers and shaping its capacity. So if you think about how train operators had innovated for our customers, that's been great, but of course it's been done in isolation maybe to the route that the train operator serves. What we need to do is take the best of that and then offer it nationally. But, and this is my challenge, not kind of start to put a bureaucratic framework around GB Rail. So for me, I see it as a great opportunity. But rail industry also needs to acknowledge that it has to change as well. And it's actually been somewhat difficult to get engagement from the industry and get projects initiated and installed for what I would say a cost-effective price and timescale. So again, we need to kind of tackle those challenges, but we do live in a very pro-rail environment, particularly, I mean, Maria's already mentioned about Midlands Connect and the East-West connectivity. We also have, of course, HS2 Eastern Leg, which we need to secure as well. And over in the West Midlands, we've got a very pro-rail mayor who's been investing in new stations and connectivity as well, which is, for me, is a great challenge to have, actually. The ability to squeeze extra services into the capacity of the network, I'd rather be doing that. That's the really good way to do it. But we have to do it faster. So Network Rail is changing the way in which it works with third parties to get investment, and then speeding up the delivery and improving the cost of enhancements. So we're calling it PACE, and we're looking right now at using that with Maria on Midlands Rail Hub activities as that first kind of starting point. And as Maria quite rightly says, we're waiting for the integrated rail plan to publish so that we can crack on with it, really. I think the point I would make as well for everybody on the conference is, from the levelling up agenda, is to make sure that the Midlands isn't forgotten in the middle. Because obviously traditionally investment's been in London, and then levelling up is looking traditionally towards the north. But actually we need to fight for investment in the Midlands as well. And so we have to keep fighting for HS2, we have to keep fighting for Midlands Connect and the East-West connectivity, so that actually we fulfil the desires of the kind of economic and industrial plan in the area. So a really good time actually to be in rail, but we need to harness the opportunity we've been given.
Absolutely, yeah, and again some similar chords there. So I think a question for each of you really is, so on the basis of investment, which we recognise is important because we have a great manufacturing heritage. As the region develops and grows, we're looking for more inward investment, and only improved transport infrastructure will give us that. So on that basis, is there enough collaboration between public and private sectors at the minute? Would more collaboration bring greater benefits, or are we seeing plenty already? Are there any gaps? Claire, maybe if I could come to you first. Oh, lost you, I think.
Just get you off mute.
Let's go to Maria.
Apologies, sorry, I'm back. I was having a complete tech faff there. I think we can always make the case for more collaboration and more investment, but we have got some real opportunities at the minute. We've got the Freeport, which is a public-private partnership, for want of a better description, where we're working closely with the local authorities, MPs and private businesses. We've also got the Development Corporation, which again is sort of bringing together that and the Midlands Engine and all that is trying to. I think what we need to do is just make sure we're all joined up and we've got that real clear vision and strategy, and that we're forward looking enough. If I use drones as an example, they're coming and they're going to make a massive difference to the logistics industry. So again, are we forward looking enough as we come out of COVID and as we look to level up, you know, it's not just the here and now and what we know now. We need to have that eye on the future and make sure that we've got that joined up vision and collaboration.
Right. Maria?
Totally. I mean, if you had to pick a part of the country, and picking up on David's point about leveling up, I keep reminding everybody, this is where everything is happening at the moment, right? The North, as much as I appreciate, and I got very good connections in the North, they're still sort of planning for instance, the arrival of HS2 in the Midlands is already happening and is creating a huge momentum. And in fact, certainty. Businesses are telling us all the time, what they need is certainty. So at least from a Midlands perspective, what happens around Curzon Street, what happens around Interchange Station, what's happening already around, even if it's not even anywhere near in terms of approval, already the East Midlands is galvanizing through the Development Corporation, as Claire says, around proposals of HS2 arriving in the East Midlands. All of that activity is exactly what businesses need. So to me, the one area that we need to look at is how we maximize these opportunities, all these investment proposals that are there, that just materializing as we speak. There's an opportunity to revamp the way we go about delivering housing, the way we go about delivering employment, and the place-making agenda is going to change completely as a result of COVID. There's a lot of innovation and thinking going on in that space. So this is the Midlands, is the place to set the pace, to set the new templates in thinking. And that's when the private sector is superb. It's agile, it's bringing all the innovation and the new thinking. As I said, not only from a transport perspective, which by the way, I noticed on your chat, you've got the best of the best supply chains and railways out here in the Midlands. So we've got the biggest cluster in that space. So it's that innovation piece, new technologies that we need to galvanize much more. And that requires a lot of agile working from the public sector, I would say. So that's a massive challenge for all of us, but we're definitely up for it because we got the opportunities here to do so.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm glad you can see the chat, which is brilliant. It helps me. Because I'm going to direct Paul Wheatley's question to David, if I might. So how do we enable local communities to achieve their aspirations for new rail passenger connections? For example, new railway stations, opening services for rural towns, etc. So, David, how do they do that?
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Paul, for the question. I mean, really, what we've got to do is ensure, of course, that it's easy to do business, with Network Rail, and that we do that by working together with our local partners. So Maria's a perfect example of that, of then saying, right, let's work together to harness a collective vision from local authorities across the area to then agree what the right investment in the rail industry is. And actually, I'm not saying this because Maria's on the call with me, but genuinely Midlands Connect has helped align expectations and aspirations in a really positive way. And similarly, the way in which we work with, say, like the Mayor for West Midlands, Andy Street, absolute champion for taking on board new stations for local communities and extra connectivity. But it's then understanding exactly what that means and how to create a compelling business case. Because just saying, okay, we want to put some platforms along a railway line somewhere doesn't actually answer the question of what type of rail service would you then get? Is it actually the type of rail service at the types of hours of operation that people want to use? And what does it do to the remaining trains that need to pass through that location? We've learned a lot of lessons actually in the West Mids going through that process to a point now where we're really confident. Andy's second term has said wants more stations involved. We're already starting asking the right questions to make it a reality. So I think where we can help, Paul, is be honest about what it means to be successful in getting a local station installed. So everyone's on the same page, and then let's speak with the power of ourselves in a unified group to get the right political support and also the funding.
And Paul's just come back saying we'd love a new station and service to Colville and Leicestershire on the Leicester to Burton line. So
as a former Measham resident, I totally agree, Paul.
Fairly specific. Thank you, Paul, for that. That's brilliant. So another area that I think Maria just touched on before. So clearly, as the nation recovers from the pandemic and the Treasury is counting the coppers, as it were, So a lot of the spend, a lot of the pledges, a lot of the business cases for infrastructure spend, there's going to be a lot of competition up and down the nation. And we must, I think as Dave said, we must not miss out as a Midlands region. It's vital to the ongoing success and the greater success of the region that we do get our fair share. So is there a sufficient appetite and support from local government and from central government, do we think? Hopefully there is. Maria?
Well, and you'll be surprised how many people tell me, they stop me now and they say, why do you need to keep investing in massive amounts of money on the railways when people are now working from home? You know, we could do with expending it more on internet. You know, this is what COVID has brought up. You know, we need digital infrastructure. And you're right. You know, I don't envy Treasury at all. You know, the country is borrowing more than ever, and we need to be careful, and we need to. So but let's go back to united front, which Clare was saying. Let's make sure that we need to think of strategic planning. We need to do it more than ever, because we've got to invest in the right, spend the money developing schemes, and these schemes take time, so you don't want to waste them just because there's somebody else wants it. We need to be pretty strict and pretty focused on how we go about prioritizing and bringing together regions like the Midlands. So government gets a real sense of there is an understanding of why it's needed, when it's needed, and what would be the benefits, not just locally, but to the UK as a whole. So we're going to have to be very, very sophisticated. And as I said, we're very pleased in the Midlands, the local government and the partners are all willing to do that, because they understand if you keep changing your mind, if you keep changing your program, nothing will happen. So these things need focus. And the government, no matter who you ask in the Midlands, if they know the priorities are well understood and the benefits to everybody are well understood, that's a good start.
And that's great. Thanks, Mary. I think if my memory serves, Claire, you said 96% of your freight that comes into East Midlands is moved by road or gets there by road, which is an astonishing figure given the capacity of the freight that you deal with there. So clearly, the more we can get more of that off the road and onto rail, for example, would free up road space and do wonders for air quality, if nothing else. But would free up road space for your passengers and other road users who have to use the road. So it's got to be a win-win, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And again, it's, if you look at the success of the Freeport bid, it was based on our multimodal capability. So we've got to future-proof that. It comes back to what I said at the beginning. We've got to look at the trends. We've got to look at the way things are changing, and we've got to look at how we can capitalize on existing infrastructure, and then look at the future and make sure we're making the right investments so that the levelling up agenda does work for East Midlands. We get the economic opportunity, we get that inward investment. And let's not forget, we're not just talking about UK, we're talking about our position as a global trading region, which, the airport, and you'd expect me to say that, this is the gateway for it. So we've got to make sure that global connectivity can be served onwards within the UK.
Absolutely, free up their own space. So, and again, I mentioned the airport there. So, immediate challenges, next 5 years, the biggest challenge. If you had a wish list and you could get your top 2 best wishes for the next 5 years, get over the line, what would they be, Dave?
Firstly, we've got to get people back on rail, but it's going to be a different type of passenger experience, because the investment in your Monday to Friday London business commuting is going to change. Where it really comes from is kind of local community linkages, and the point that Claire made, that it takes an hour and a half to get to Birmingham by rail, where you can drive down the M42. So I think my first wish is that we get the right mix or service offer that gets people back on rail. My next wish is that we carry on investing, that we answer the challenges that the industry has about being too slow and expensive, and get to a point where actually everyone trusts that you can do business with rail, and therefore we're the right answer for that increased local connectivity.
Great question. And I can relate to that as someone who used to travel to London for meetings that lasted an hour and a half. So you spend all day travelling for an hour and a half coming back. I can now have meetings in London, in Warwickshire, in Edinburgh, and in Carlisle on the same day. Yeah, through Teams, it's remarkable, isn't it? It really is. But I do miss the train journey sometimes. Yeah.
And our interestingly, New Street is almost back to 75% capacity, but it's with local passengers doing shopping and community transport.
Absolutely, yeah. Maria?
Well, I was going to say exactly that. We want people back on the railways. It's really important. It's part of the overall sustainability agenda and climate change. We've got to get people to trust the railways, to get excited about jumping on the railways again. So, but most importantly, we want delivery. If we want people to get back excited about the UK leading on transport and infrastructure and connectivity, if we want to promote the Midlands as the smartest region globally, Claire, you know, your point, we got to ensure that we what we say we deliver. So that would be my second wish, is that we don't keep talking about the potential. We actually show that we got the capabilities, the quality to deliver the best of the best when it comes to transport.
Yeah. We need to be bold and ambitious. Absolutely. Yeah. Claire, apart from passengers coming back to your airport.
That's exactly what I was going to say. People flying again. Of course, that's what we need. So, I mean, that's the obvious priority for me at the moment. But then again, going beyond this sort of integrated vision that really does lay out how we position ourselves, I think it really is investing and sort of addressing the sustainability piece. You know, from logistics is traditionally seen as a dirty industry, cars are seen as dirty, aircraft rightly or wrongly seen as dirty, rail to some extent as well. So we really, you know, we need to capitalise. Again, we've got great universities, we've got great tech in the region. We should be harnessing all that, pulling it into our vision, and then delivering, back to Maria's point, on that plan that addresses sustainable travel, rail, aviation, whatever. And I think addressing Paul's point in the comments, you know, that's appealing so people can enjoy traveling again.
Yeah, absolutely. Just checking the time, and it's almost time for us to be wrapping up, and we've just got another question in the chat, or a comment from Tom Erskine. Thank you, Tom. If we have world-leading transport manufacturers, why are there not the showcase projects in our towns and cities to demonstrate what the region can do? Something we actually discussed as a metro region a few years ago, with Rolls-Royce and Bombardier particularly, Toyota obviously as well, they're at the forefront. Should we not be working with them to devise connected transport links across our region, utilising green technology, monorails on demand? And the monorail was one of the things we discussed in the metro board meeting from time to time. I was a bit wacky, to be honest, but it's a great shout, really is. A lot of vehicles. Absolutely right. We should be looking at new technologies. We should be ambitious, is what I said before. We should be aspirational. East Midlands and West Midlands are the great places to live, the Midlands, and a great place to invest. As you say, Claire, we've got fantastic air connections, global air connections in Birmingham and East Midlands. We've got your freight activity, which is, I still think, is it the largest outside of London or the largest?
Largest UK express freight hub.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So, great place to live, a great place to invest. We just need to make sure that transport links, accessibility and connectivity improves with our ambition and with the growth. So with that, I'll thank you three very, very much. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Claire. Been an excellent interaction. Thanks for your time, and hopefully see you again. See you soon. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Thanks, everyone.